In July 1969, the world watched in awe as Neil Armstrong became the first human to set foot on the moon. But almost immediately, a cloud of doubt began to form. Some claimed that the moon landings were an elaborate hoax staged by NASA to win the space race. Today, we delve into the origins, evidence, and impact of one of our time's most enduring conspiracy theories. This moment was hailed as a pinnacle of human achievement, a testament to what could be accomplished through science, engineering, and the unyielding human spirit. For many, it was a unifying event, a beacon of hope and progress. But for some, it began a profound skepticism that has persisted for over half a century. The backdrop to this monumental event was the Cold War, a period of intense geopolitical tension between the United States and the Soviet Union. The space race became a key front in this struggle for supremacy. In 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik, the first artificial satellite, stunning the world and igniting fears that the U.S. was falling behind in technological prowess. In response, President John F. Kennedy set a bold vision for America. In a speech at Rice University in 1962, he declared, "We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard." This challenge galvanized NASA and the nation, leading to unprecedented scientific and technological innovation. The journey to the moon was fraught with challenges and setbacks. The Mercury and Gemini programs laid the groundwork for human spaceflight, testing the limits of human endurance and spacecraft's capabilities. The Apollo program, initiated in 1961, aimed to accomplish the ultimate goal, landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth. Tragedy struck in 1967 when a fire during a pre-flight test of Apollo 1 claimed the lives of 3 astronauts. This disaster underscored the inherent dangers of space exploration and prompted a rigorous review and redesign of the spacecraft. Despite this setback, NASA persevered, culminating in the successful Apollo 11 mission in July 1969. The world watched with bated breath as Apollo 11 launched from Kennedy Space Center on July 16, 1969. 4 days later, on July 20th, the lunar module, Eagle, touched down on the moon's surface. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin spent approximately 2.5 hours exploring the lunar landscape, while Michael Collins orbited above in the command module. During their time on the moon, Armstrong and Aldrin conducted experiments, collected rock samples, and took photographs. These images and samples would later provide invaluable scientific insights. The mission was a resounding success, and the astronauts returned to Earth as heroes. The successful moon landing was celebrated around the world. It was seen as a triumph of human ingenuity and determination when humanity reached beyond its earthly confines to touch another world. Parades were held, and the astronauts were honored with medals and accolades. The mission had achieved more than just a scientific milestone. It had inspired a generation and demonstrated what could be achieved through international cooperation and dedication to a common goal. However, almost as soon as the celebrations began, so did the skepticism. Despite the overwhelming evidence and the testimonies of the astronauts and scientists involved, some individuals began questioning the authenticity of the moon landings. Distrust in government, a lack of understanding of scientific principles, and misinformation dissemination fueled this skepticism. One of the earliest and most influential proponents of the moon landing hoax theory was Bill Kaysing. In his 1976 book, We Never Went to the Moon, America's $30 Billion Swindle, Kaysing alleged that NASA had neither the technical capability nor the expertise to land humans on the moon. He argued that the entire endeavor was an elaborate deception orchestrated to ensure America's victory in the space race. Kaysing's claims found a receptive audience, especially those predisposed to distrust government institutions. His arguments were built on a mix of factual inaccuracies, misinterpretations of photographic evidence, and speculative assertions. Despite this, the idea that the moon landings were faked gained traction, particularly in the wake of other societal upheavals and scandals that eroded public trust. Proponents of the moon landing hoax theory pointed to various anomalies in the photographs and videos from the missions. They questioned the behavior of shadows, the apparent fluttering of the American flag, and the design of the lunar module. These purported inconsistencies were presented as evidence that the moon landings were staged in a terrestrial studio, possibly with the assistance of Hollywood filmmakers. These anomalies are easily explained when one understands the unique conditions of the lunar environment. The moon's lack of atmosphere and the harsh lighting conditions create shadows that behave differently from Earth's. Similarly, the flag appeared to flutter due to the momentum imparted during setup, not because of wind, which doesn't exist on the moon. Despite the claims of hoax proponents, the Apollo program continued with 5 more successful moon landings. Each mission provided further evidence of humanity's presence on the moon, from detailed photographs and video footage to extensive geological samples. These missions collectively confirmed the scientific validity of the moon landings. The legacy of the Apollo missions endures to this day. Modern space missions continue to build on the knowledge gained from these pioneering efforts. New lunar exploration initiatives like NASA's Artemis program aim to return humans to the moon and establish a sustainable presence. These endeavors testify to the enduring spirit of exploration and the quest for knowledge that defines humanity. The moon landing hoax theory, despite its persistence, starkly contrasts the overwhelming body of evidence and the achievements of countless scientists, engineers, and astronauts. As we explore the origins and impact of this theory, it is essential to recognize the importance of critical thinking and the pursuit of truth. The story of the Apollo mission is not just a tale of reaching the moon, it is a testament to what humanity can achieve when we dare to dream and strive for the stars. The theory gained traction in the early 1970s, fueled by a book titled "We Never Went to the Moon: America's $30 Billion Swindle" by Bill Kaysing. Kaysing, a former technical writer for Rocketdyne, claimed to have inside knowledge that the moon landings were faked. His book, published in 1976, was among the first to articulate the belief that NASA had orchestrated an elaborate deception. Kaysing argued that NASA lacked the technical capability to achieve such a feat and that the entire Apollo program was a colossal fraud. Kaysing's assertions tapped into a broader sense of distrust in the government, which had been growing in the wake of the Vietnam War and the Watergate scandal. These events had profoundly shaken the American public's faith in their leaders, creating fertile ground for conspiracy theories. Kaysing's background lent his claims a veneer of credibility. Having worked for Rocketdyne, a company that produced rocket engines for NASA, he seemed to offer an insider's perspective. However, Kaysing's role was far removed from the engineering and scientific efforts that made the Apollo missions possible. Nonetheless, his book struck a chord with those already inclined to question the official narrative. Kaysing's theory was built on a mix of factual inaccuracies, misinterpretations of photographic evidence, and speculative assertions. He argued that the Apollo missions were filmed in a Hollywood studio, possibly with the assistance of filmmaker Stanley Kubrick, whose movie 2001: A Space Odyssey had impressed audiences with its realistic depiction of space. According to Kaysing, the U.S. government had much to gain from faking the moon landings, from boosting national pride to securing funding for NASA. One of Kaysing's main arguments was that the technology of the 1960s was insufficient to achieve a manned moon landing. He claimed that the computers available at the time were too primitive and that the astronauts would have been unable to survive the journey due to radiation exposure from the Van Allen belts. These belts of high-energy particles, trapped by Earth's magnetic field, were cited as insurmountable obstacles to human space travel beyond low Earth orbit. Kaysing also pointed to supposed anomalies in the photographic and video evidence from the moon missions. He argued that the shadows in the photographs were inconsistent, suggesting the use of multiple light sources. He claimed that the American flag appeared to flutter in the breeze, which should have been impossible in the vacuum of space. Additionally, he questioned the apparent absence of stars in the lunar sky, suggesting that NASA had deliberately omitted them to avoid astronomical inconsistencies. These arguments found a receptive audience, particularly among individuals predisposed to distrust government institutions. The moon landing hoax theory began to circulate more widely, gaining traction through word of mouth and alternative media. In the pre-internet era, this spread was facilitated by newsletters, small press publications, and local talk shows. The theory resonated with those who felt alienated or disenfranchised, providing a sense of empowerment and understanding in a complex and rapidly changing world. Despite the lack of credible evidence, Casing's claims laid the groundwork for a burgeoning conspiracy theory. His book was followed by other publications and documentaries that echoed and expanded upon his ideas. As the theory evolved, it incorporated new elements and interpretations, each adding to the tapestry of doubt and skepticism. One significant factor that helped the moon landing hoax theory gain traction was the broader cultural context of the 1970s and 1980s. This period saw a surge in interest in UFOs, extraterrestrial life, and government cover-ups. The public's fascination with the unknown and the unexplained created an environment where conspiracy theories could flourish. The idea that the moon landings were faked fit neatly into this landscape, appealing to those who believed in hidden truths and secret agendas. The advent of the internet in the 1990s provided a new platform for the moon landing hoax theory to spread. Online forums, websites, and later social media allowed conspiracy theorists to connect, share information, and recruit new adherents. The decentralized nature of the internet meant that these ideas could reach a global audience, crossing geographical and cultural boundaries. This digital proliferation ensured that the moon landing hoax theory remained a persistent presence in the public consciousness. The moon landing hoax theory also attracted attention from various high-profile figures and celebrities, further amplifying its reach. Statements from influential individuals questioning the moon landings lent the theory additional visibility and legitimacy in the eyes of some. This celebrity endorsement, combined with the ease of information sharing online, helped to sustain and grow the conspiracy theory. As the theory gained momentum, it began to fragment into various strands and interpretations. Different proponents emphasized different aspects of the supposed hoax, from the technical impossibilities to the photographic anomalies. Some suggested that only certain aspects of the missions were faked, while others claimed that the entire Apollo program was a sham. This diversity of views within the conspiracy theory community created a complex and sometimes contradictory narrative, making it challenging for debunkers to address every claim comprehensively. The persistence of the moon landing hoax theory can also be attributed to psychological factors. Conspiracy theories offer simple explanations for complex events, providing a sense of order and control in a chaotic world. They can fulfill emotional and cognitive needs, offering a way to cope with uncertainty and fear. Believing in a conspiracy theory can also foster a sense of community and identity, as individuals connect with like-minded others who share their skepticism and mistrust. Sociological factors also play a role in the endurance of the moon landing hoax theory. Social influence, including peer groups and media consumption, can reinforce beliefs and make them more resistant to change. Once individuals commit to a particular worldview, they tend to seek out information that confirms their beliefs and dismiss evidence that contradicts them. This confirmation bias can entrench conspiracy theories, making them difficult to dislodge even in the face of overwhelming counter-evidence. In recent years, the moon landing hoax theory has continued to evolve, incorporating new elements and adapting to contemporary contexts. The rise of digital media and the proliferation of misinformation online have created new challenges for those seeking to counteract conspiracy theories. Despite efforts by scientists, educators, and skeptics to debunk the moon landing hoax, it remains a persistent and influential narrative. The story of the moon landing hoax theory is a testament to the power of belief and the enduring allure of conspiracy theories. It highlights the ways in which distrust, misinformation, and cognitive biases can shape our understanding of history and reality. As we continue to explore the origins and impact of this theory, it is essential to recognize the importance of critical thinking, evidence-based reasoning, and the pursuit of truth. Proponents of the moon landing hoax theory point to several pieces of alleged evidence to support their claims that the Apollo missions were staged. They argue that various inconsistencies and anomalies in the photographs and videos from the missions and technical and physical challenges provide proof that the moon landings were faked in a studio on Earth. One of the most commonly cited pieces of evidence involves the shadows in the lunar photographs. Skeptics claim that the shadows are inconsistent with a single light source, such as the sun, and instead suggest using multiple studio lights. According to hoax proponents, the moon's shadows appear to fall in different directions, which they argue would be impossible with the sun as the only light source. They contend that this indicates artificial lighting was used, with multiple lights casting shadows in various directions. However, experts in photography and lighting explain that the uneven terrain on the moon's surface can cause shadows to fall at different angles. The lunar surface is not flat. It is covered with craters, rocks, and slopes, which can create the illusion of shadow discrepancies. Another frequently mentioned anomaly involves the American flag, which appears to flutter in some photographs and videos from the moon missions. Skeptics argue that this is evidence of wind, which should be impossible in the vacuum of space. They claim that the flag's movement indicates that it was filmed in a studio on Earth, where air currents could cause it to flutter. The flag was designed with a horizontal rod to hold it outstretched. The fluttering effect occurred when the astronauts set up the flag and twisted the pole into the lunar soil. The movement caused by the astronauts' actions created ripples in the fabric, which persisted due to the lack of atmospheric drag on the moon. Hoax proponents also question the apparent absence of stars in the photographs and videos from the moon missions. They argue that the sky should be filled with stars, yet the images show a pitch-black backdrop. This, they claim, is evidence that the scenes were filmed in a studio, where adding stars would have been too complicated and potentially revealing. However, the camera settings used during the missions can explain the absence of stars. The astronauts used cameras with fast shutter speeds and low apertures to capture the brightly lit lunar surface. These settings would have made the relatively faint stars invisible in the photographs, as the camera was not set to capture such low light levels. Another point of contention for hoax believers is the lack of a crater beneath the lunar module, LM. They argue that the powerful descent engine should have created a significant depression in the lunar surface upon landing. The absence of such a crater, they claim, indicates that the LM did not land on the moon. In response, scientists and engineers explain that the lunar surface comprises compacted regolith, a layer of fine dust and small particles. The LM's descent engine was throttled down during the final landing stages to prevent the spacecraft from kicking up excessive dust and debris. The reduced thrust, combined with the firm nature of the regolith, resulted in a gentle touchdown without a noticeable crater. Hoax proponents also focus on the supposed technological impossibilities of the 1960s, arguing that the computers and materials available at the time were insufficient to support a manned moon landing. They claimed that the computing power of the Apollo guidance computer was too limited to navigate and land a spacecraft on the moon. However, the Apollo missions relied on a combination of human skill and computer assistance. The astronauts were highly trained and could manually pilot the spacecraft if necessary. The Apollo guidance computer, while primitive by today's standards, was specifically designed for the tasks required and performed reliably throughout the missions. Radiation exposure from the Van Allen belts is another argument frequently cited by moon landing hoax proponents. They claim that the intense radiation trapped in these belts would have been lethal to the astronauts, making a manned mission to the moon impossible. In reality, the Apollo missions were carefully planned to minimize radiation exposure. The spacecraft traveled through the thinner portions of the Van Allen belts at high speed, reducing the time the astronauts spent in the radiation zones. Additionally, The spacecraft provided sufficient shielding to protect the astronauts from harmful radiation levels. Skeptics also question the authenticity of the moon rocks brought back by the Apollo missions. They argue that these samples could have been collected on Earth or created in a laboratory. However, lunar geologists and scientists worldwide have extensively studied these rocks and confirmed their extraterrestrial origin. The composition and characteristics of the moon rocks are distinct from any terrestrial materials, and they provide invaluable insights into the moon's history and geology. Another argument from hoax proponents involves the telemetry data and communications during the Apollo missions. They claim that the real-time communication between the astronauts on the moon and mission control in Houston would have been impossible due to the time delay caused by the distance between Earth and the moon. However, the time delay is only a matter of seconds, and it was well within the capabilities of the communication technology available at the time. The successful transmission of voice, video, and telemetry data during the missions is well documented and consistent with the physics of space communication. The hoax theory also incorporates claims about the behavior of the astronauts themselves. Skeptics argue that the astronauts' movements in the moon footage appear unnatural and inconsistent with the lower gravity environment. They claim that slow-motion filming techniques were used to simulate the effects of reduced gravity. However, experts in biomechanics and film analysis have demonstrated that the movements observed in the footage are consistent with the moon's 1/6 gravity. The astronauts' distinctive hopping gait and how dust behaves when kicked up are unique to the lunar environment and cannot be easily replicated on Earth. Additionally, hoax proponents point to the supposed lack of transparency and access to original data and materials from the Apollo missions. They argue that NASA has withheld or destroyed critical evidence that could prove or disprove the moon landings. In response, NASA has made significant efforts to preserve and share the data and artifacts from the Apollo program. The original telemetry tapes, mission logs, and rock samples have been archived and studied extensively by scientists worldwide. The loss of some original tapes has been attributed to data management practices of the time, but copies and detailed records have been maintained. Despite experts' detailed explanations, the moon landing hoax theory persists in popular culture. It has been featured in numerous documentaries, books, and movies, often presented as an intriguing mystery or an alternative interpretation of history. This exposure has contributed to the hoax theory's enduring appeal and place in the public imagination. The rise of the internet and social media has further amplified the reach of the moon landing hoax theory. Online platforms allow like-minded individuals to share information, discuss their beliefs, and reinforce their views. This digital echo chamber effect can make it difficult for factual information to penetrate and challenge deeply held conspiracy beliefs. The persistence of the moon landing hoax theory highlights the challenges of combating misinformation and the importance of critical thinking and scientific literacy. By understanding the origins and arguments of the hoax theory, as well as the robust evidence supporting the authenticity of the Apollo missions, we can appreciate the true significance of humanity's achievements in space exploration. NASA has consistently denied the moon landing hoax claims, providing detailed explanations and evidence to counter the allegations. The scientific community overwhelmingly supports the authenticity of the Apollo missions, citing rock samples, telemetry data, and independent verification by other countries. To combat the claims of hoax proponents, NASA and the broader scientific community have undertaken extensive efforts to debunk the conspiracy theories through a combination of public outreach, educational initiatives, and rigorous scientific analysis. One of the key strategies employed by NASA is the release of detailed mission documentation. The Apollo program generated a vast amount of data, including mission logs, flight plans, technical manuals, and telemetry data. These documents have been made available to the public and the scientific community, providing a comprehensive record of the missions from planning to execution. By making this information accessible, NASA aims to demonstrate the meticulous planning and execution involved in the Apollo missions, countering claims that they were hastily staged or poorly documented. In addition to documentation, NASA has preserved and shared the physical artifacts from the Apollo missions. The lunar rock samples collected by the astronauts are among the most compelling pieces of evidence supporting the authenticity of the moon landings. These samples have been studied extensively by scientists around the world, who have confirmed their extraterrestrial origin. The unique composition and characteristics of the moon rocks, which include distinct mineralogical and isotopic signatures, cannot be replicated by any known earthly processes. NASA has also loaned these samples to museums and educational institutions, allowing the public to see and learn about the tangible evidence of the moon landings. NASA has also addressed the specific anomalies cited by hoax proponents. For example, the agency has provided detailed explanations for the behavior of shadows, the appearance of the American flag, and the absence of stars in lunar photographs. These explanations are grounded in the principles of physics and photography, and independent experts have corroborated them. NASA has also conducted experiments and simulations to demonstrate how these phenomena occur under the conditions present on the moon, further debunking the claims of artificial lighting in studio settings. To counter the argument that the technology of the 1960s was insufficient to achieve a manned moon landing, NASA has highlighted the extensive testing and development that went into the Apollo program. The agency has shared information about the rigorous training of the astronauts, the engineering advancements made during the program, and the successful execution of precursor missions, such as the Mercury and Gemini programs. These earlier missions tested critical components of space travel, including orbital maneuvers, docking procedures, and spacewalks, laying the groundwork for the eventual moon landings. NASA has also engaged directly with the public and the media to address the hoax claims. The agency has participated in interviews, documentaries, and public forums to provide accurate information and answer questions about the Apollo missions. NASA astronauts and engineers who were involved in the missions have shared their first-hand experiences, offering personal testimonies to counter the conspiracy theories. These public engagements aim to build trust and transparency, reinforcing the credibility of NASA and the legitimacy of the moon landings. The scientific community has played a crucial role in supporting NASA's efforts to debunk the moon landing hoax. Researchers and educators have published articles, conducted lectures, and developed educational materials to explain the evidence supporting the Apollo missions. Scientific journals and conferences have featured studies and presentations on the lunar samples, mission data, and technological achievements of the Apollo program. These efforts have helped to disseminate accurate information and promote scientific literacy, countering the spread of misinformation. One of the most significant endorsements of the Apollo mission's authenticity comes from independent verification by other countries. The Soviet Union, which closely monitored the Apollo missions during the space race, confirmed the success of the moon landings through its own tracking and intelligence efforts. Additionally, countries with their own space programs, such as Japan and China, have conducted lunar missions that have independently confirmed the presence of the Apollo landing sites and artifacts on the moon. These international confirmations further validate the moon landings, as they come from entities with no vested interest in supporting NASA's claims. Technological advancements have allowed for even more direct verification of the Apollo missions in recent years. High-resolution images of the moon's surface, taken by lunar orbiters such as NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, LRO, have provided clear evidence of the Apollo landing sites. These images show the lunar modules, astronaut tracks, and scientific instruments left behind, visually confirming the missions. The LRO images have been widely disseminated and analyzed, offering an additional layer of evidence to counter the hoax claims. Despite the overwhelming evidence and the efforts of NASA and the scientific community, the moon landing hoax theory persists. This persistence can be attributed to several factors, including cognitive biases, social dynamics, and the proliferation of misinformation. Cognitive biases, such as confirmation bias and the Dunning-Kruger effect, can make individuals resistant to changing their beliefs even in the face of compelling evidence. Social dynamics, including the influence of peer groups and online communities, can reinforce conspiracy beliefs and create echo chambers where misinformation thrives. The rise of the internet and social media has significantly impacted the spread of the moon landing hoax theory. Online platforms provide a space for conspiracy theorists to share information, connect with like-minded individuals, and amplify their views. The decentralized nature of the internet makes it difficult to control the spread of misinformation, and algorithms that prioritize engagement can inadvertently promote sensational and conspiratorial content. This digital environment has created new challenges for those seeking to counteract the moon landing hoax theory. In response to these challenges, NASA and the scientific community have continued adapting their public outreach and education strategies. They have embraced digital tools and platforms to reach broader audiences and engage with the public in new ways. Social media campaigns, online videos, and interactive websites have been developed to provide accurate information and debunk myths about the Apollo missions. These efforts aim to reach younger generations and individuals who may not have been exposed to traditional sources of scientific information. Educational initiatives have also been a key component of NASA's strategy to counter the moon landing hoax. The agency has collaborated with schools, universities, and academic organizations to develop curricula and resources that teach the history and science of the Apollo missions. By fostering critical thinking skills and promoting scientific literacy, these educational efforts aim to equip students with the tools they need to evaluate evidence and discern fact from fiction. One of the most powerful tools in NASA's arsenal is the personal testimony of the astronauts who participated in the Apollo missions. These individuals have shared their experiences through interviews, memoirs, and public appearances, providing first-hand accounts of their journeys to the moon. Their stories offer a compelling counter-narrative to the hoax claims, highlighting the dedication, courage, and expertise required to achieve one of humanity's greatest accomplishments. In addition to NASA and the scientific community's efforts, the media has played a role in debunking the moon landing hoax. Documentaries, news articles, and television programs have explored the evidence supporting the Apollo missions and addressed conspiracy theorists' claims. Some media outlets have produced in-depth investigations and fact-checking reports, comprehensively examining the hoax theory and the overwhelming evidence against it. Despite the challenges, the efforts to counter the moon landing hoax have seen some success. Public opinion polls indicate that most people believe in the authenticity of the Apollo missions, and the scientific consensus remains strong. However, the persistence of the hoax theory serves as a reminder of the importance of ongoing education and public engagement. It highlights the need for vigilance in combating misinformation and promoting a culture of critical inquiry and evidence-based reasoning. The story of NASA's response to the moon landing hoax is a testament to the resilience of scientific truth in the face of doubt and skepticism. It underscores the importance of transparency, communication, and education in maintaining public trust in scientific institutions. As we continue to explore the legacy of the Apollo missions and look toward future space endeavors, the lessons learned from this experience will be invaluable in guiding our efforts to inspire and inform the next generation of explorers. Despite the overwhelming evidence supporting the authenticity of the Apollo missions, the moon landing hoax theory has persisted, fueled by documentaries, books, and movies that often present the theory as an intriguing mystery or an alternative interpretation of history. This exposure has contributed to the enduring appeal of the hoax theory and its place in popular culture. One of the earliest and most influential media representations of the moon landing hoax theory was the 1978 movie Capricorn 1. Directed by Peter Hyams, the film tells the story of a Mars mission faked by NASA, where astronauts are coerced into participating in the hoax to ensure funding and public support for the space program. While Capricorn 1 is a work of fiction, it resonated with audiences and provided a narrative framework for those who were skeptical of the moon landings. The movie's depiction of a government conspiracy and the moral dilemmas faced by the astronauts added a layer of drama and intrigue to the hoax theory, making it more compelling to the public. In the decades that followed, numerous documentaries and TV specials further explored the moon landing hoax theory. One of the most notable was the Fox television special Conspiracy Theory, Did We Land on the Moon?, which aired in 2001. Hosted by actor Mitch Pileggi, the program presented various arguments and alleged evidence supporting the hoax theory, including interviews with prominent proponents such as Bill Kaysing and Ralph Renee. The special drew significant viewership and sparked widespread debate, introducing the hoax theory to a new generation of skeptics and curious viewers. Books have also played a crucial role in perpetuating the moon landing hoax theory. In addition to Bill Kaysing's seminal work, other authors have written extensively on the subject, often blending speculative fiction with purported investigative journalism. Books like Dark Moon Apollo and the Whistleblowers by Mary Bennett and David S. Percy, and One Small Step, The Great Moon Hoax and the Race to Dominate Earth from Space by Gerhard Wisniewski have found audiences eager for alternative explanations of the Apollo missions. These books often rely on selective interpretation of evidence, speculative assertions, and the rehashing of debunked claims to construct a narrative of deception and intrigue. The advent of the internet in the 1990s and the subsequent rise of social media have significantly amplified the reach and impact of the moon landing hoax theory. Online forums, websites, and later social media platforms provided spaces for conspiracy theorists to share information, connect with like-minded individuals, and recruit new adherents. Websites dedicated to the hoax theory, such as Aulis Online and the Apollo Hoax, have compiled extensive collections of articles, images, and videos that purport to expose the truth behind the moon landings. These online resources allow conspiracy theorists to present their arguments in a polished and organized manner, making it easier to attract and persuade new believers. Social media platforms like Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter have further facilitated the spread of the hoax theory. Videos and posts questioning the moon landings can go viral, reaching millions of people worldwide in a short period. Influencers and content creators who promote conspiracy theories can gain substantial followings, leveraging their platforms to disseminate their views. The algorithm-driven nature of social media, which prioritizes engagement and sensational content, often exacerbates the problem by promoting posts that generate controversy and debate. This environment can create echo chambers where misinformation thrives and is continually reinforced. The role of celebrities and public figures in perpetuating the moon landing hoax theory cannot be overlooked. Over the years, several high-profile individuals have expressed skepticism about the moon landings, lending visibility and a semblance of legitimacy to the theory. For instance, musician and songwriter Joe Rogan, who has a large following and significant influence through his podcast, has discussed the hoax theory on multiple occasions. Although Rogan has since retracted his belief in the theory, his earlier endorsements contributed to its dissemination and acceptance among his audience. The moon landing hoax theory has also permeated popular culture through various forms of entertainment and media. References to the hoax can be found in television shows, movies, and even music. For example, the animated series Family Guy and The Simpsons have both featured episodes that parody or reference the moon landing hoax, using humor to engage with the conspiracy theory. While these portrayals are often intended to be satirical, they also serve to keep the theory in the public consciousness, making it a familiar topic for audiences. Music has also played a part in maintaining the visibility of the hoax theory. Artists from different genres have referenced the moon landing hoax in their lyrics, using it as a metaphor for broader themes of distrust and deception. Rapper B.O.B., for example, has included references to the hoax theory in his songs and public statements, further blurring the lines between entertainment and conspiracy. The impact of the moon landing hoax theory on public perception and trust in institutions is significant. While the majority of people accept the authenticity of the Apollo missions, the persistence of the hoax theory highlights a broader trend of skepticism toward authoritative sources of information. This distrust can extend beyond NASA and the government to include scientific institutions, media organizations, and educational entities. The prevalence of conspiracy theories can erode public confidence in these institutions, making it more challenging to promote scientific literacy and evidence-based reasoning. To counteract the influence of the moon landing hoax theory in popular culture, NASA and the scientific community have engaged in proactive public outreach and education. Documentaries and TV programs that debunk the hoax theory, such as Mythbusters and Nova, have provided accessible and entertaining explanations of the evidence supporting the moon landings. These programs use scientific principles and experimental demonstrations to address the claims of hoax proponents, helping to demystify the Apollo missions for a broad audience. Educational initiatives have also been crucial in addressing the impact of the hoax theory. NASA has developed a range of educational resources, including lesson plans, interactive websites, and public talks, to teach the history and science of the Apollo missions. By fostering critical thinking skills and promoting a deeper understanding of the scientific process, these initiatives aim to equip students with the tools they need to evaluate conspiracy theories and discern fact from fiction. The continued exploration of space and new lunar missions also play a role in reinforcing the achievements of the Apollo program. Missions like NASA's Artemis program, which aims to return humans to the moon and establish a sustainable presence, provide opportunities to revisit and celebrate the legacy of the Apollo missions. As new images and data from the moon are collected and shared with the public, they offer fresh evidence of humanity's ongoing exploration of space, countering the narrative of deception promoted by hoax proponents. The story of the moon landing hoax theory in popular culture is a testament to the power of narrative and the challenges of combating misinformation. It highlights the ways in which entertainment, media, and social dynamics can shape public perception and influence belief systems. As we continue to engage with and address the moon landing hoax theory, it is essential to recognize the importance of effective communication, education, and public outreach in promoting scientific literacy and trust in credible sources of information. Ultimately, the persistence of the moon landing hoax theory serves as a reminder of the need for vigilance in the face of misinformation and the importance of fostering a culture of inquiry and evidence-based reasoning. By continuing to share the true story of the Apollo missions and celebrating the achievements of space exploration, we can inspire future generations to reach for the stars and pursue the wonders of science and discovery. Why do people believe in conspiracy theories like the moon landing hoax? Understanding the psychological and sociological aspects behind these beliefs is crucial to addressing and debunking them. Several cognitive, emotional, and social factors contribute to the persistence and spread of conspiracy theories. One key psychological factor is cognitive dissonance, a mental discomfort experienced when holding two or more contradictory beliefs. For some individuals, accepting the reality of the moon landings, while also harboring a deep distrust of government institutions, creates cognitive dissonance. To resolve this discomfort, they might reject the moon landings as a government deception, aligning their beliefs with their underlying distrust. This resolution reduces the psychological discomfort and creates a more coherent belief system, even if it is based on misinformation. Another contributing factor is confirmation bias, the tendency to seek out, interpret, and remember information that confirms one's pre-existing beliefs. Those who already suspect government conspiracies are more likely to accept evidence that supports the moon landing hoax and dismiss evidence that contradicts it. This selective processing of information reinforces their beliefs and makes them more resistant to change. In the context of the moon landing hoax, individuals might focus on perceived anomalies in photos and videos, while ignoring the extensive scientific evidence supporting the moon landings. The Dunning-Kruger effect also plays a role. This cognitive bias causes people with limited knowledge or competence in a particular area to overestimate their own understanding. Individuals who are not well versed in space science, photography, or engineering might believe they have identified flaws in the moon landing evidence that experts have overlooked. This overconfidence can lead them to assert their views strongly and resist correction, perpetuating the spread of misinformation. Emotionally, conspiracy theories can provide a sense of control and understanding in a complex and often chaotic world. The moon landing hoax theory offers a straightforward for an event that seems almost too extraordinary to be true. By attributing the moon landings to a government conspiracy, believers can impose a simple, if erroneous, narrative on a complex series of events. Sense of control can be comforting, especially in times of uncertainty or crisis. Social factors also significantly influence the belief in conspiracy theories. Social identity theory suggests that people derive part of their identity from the groups to which they belong. Believing in a conspiracy theory can create a sense of belonging and community with others who share the same views. Online forums and social media platforms provide spaces for these communities to form and thrive. Within these echo chambers, members reinforce each other's beliefs, share information that supports their views, and dismiss external evidence that contradicts their narrative. This social reinforcement strengthens their commitment to the conspiracy theory. Peer influence is another powerful social factor. Individuals are more likely to adopt beliefs held by their peers, especially if those beliefs are strongly asserted and widely accepted within their social circles. In groups where skepticism of the moon landings is prevalent, individuals might feel social pressure to conform to these views. This pressure can be particularly strong in close-knit communities or subcultures where dissenting opinions are discouraged. Media consumption patterns also play a crucial role. People who consume media that frequently features conspiracy theories are more likely to believe in those theories. The algorithms used by social media platforms can exacerbate this by promoting content that aligns with users' existing beliefs, creating a feedback loop of confirmation bias. For instance, someone who watches a video questioning the moon landings on YouTube might receive recommendations for additional conspiracy theory content, further entrenching their views. The influence of influential figures and celebrities can also contribute to the spread of conspiracy theories. When public figures endorse or express interest in a conspiracy theory, their followers may be more inclined to consider it credible. This effect can be amplified by the reach of social media, where celebrities and influencers can disseminate their views to millions of people. The endorsement of conspiracy theories by high-profile individuals can lend a veneer of legitimacy to these ideas, even if they are unfounded. Educational background and critical thinking skills also impact susceptibility to conspiracy theories. Individuals with limited education or those who lack training in critical thinking and scientific reasoning are more vulnerable to misinformation. They might have difficulty evaluating evidence, distinguishing credible sources from unreliable ones, and recognizing logical fallacies. Educational initiatives that promote critical thinking and scientific literacy are essential in countering the appeal of conspiracy theories. Psychological factors such as paranoia and a predisposition to see patterns where none exist, known as apophenia, can also contribute to belief in conspiracy theories. Paranoid individuals are more likely to interpret ambiguous information as evidence of deliberate deception or malicious intent. Similarly, those prone to apophenia might perceive patterns and connections in random or unrelated events, leading them to believe in elaborate conspiracies. The role of narrative and storytelling should not be underestimated. Conspiracy theories often provide compelling and emotionally engaging narratives that can be more memorable and persuasive than dry, factual accounts. The moon landing hoax theory, for example, weaves a tale of intrigue, deception, and heroism that captivates the imagination. These narratives can be particularly appealing in a media landscape that values sensationalism and storytelling. Understanding the socio-political context is also important. Conspiracy theories often thrive in environments of political instability, social upheaval, and widespread distrust in institutions. The moon landing hoax theory gained traction during a period of significant political and social turmoil in the United States, including the Vietnam War, the Watergate scandal, and the Civil Rights Movement. These events eroded public trust in government and created a fertile ground for conspiracy theories to take root. Efforts to counteract the psychological and sociological factors driving belief in the moon landing hoax must be multifaceted. Public education campaigns that promote scientific literacy and critical thinking skills are essential. These initiatives should emphasize the importance of evidence-based reasoning and provide tools for evaluating sources of information. By fostering a culture of inquiry and skepticism, educators can help individuals develop the skills needed to discern fact from fiction. Engaging with and addressing conspiracy theories directly is also important. Rather than dismissing believers as irrational or uninformed, it is more effective to engage with their concerns respectfully and provide clear, evidence-based explanations. This approach can help build trust and open the door to constructive dialogue. Scientists, educators, and public figures can play a crucial role in this effort by participating in public forums, media appearances, and social media discussions to counter misinformation. The media has a responsibility to report on conspiracy theories responsibly. Sensationalist coverage that treats conspiracy theories as entertainment can inadvertently legitimize these ideas. Instead, media outlets should strive to provide accurate, balanced reporting that highlights the overwhelming evidence supporting the Apollo missions while addressing the claims of hoax proponents critically and thoroughly. Social media platforms also have a role to play in combating the spread of conspiracy theories. By implementing measures to identify and limit the reach of misinformation, these platforms can help reduce the visibility of false claims. Algorithmic changes that prioritize credible sources and factual information can also mitigate the echo chamber effect that perpetuates conspiracy theories. Ultimately, addressing the psychological and sociological aspects of belief in the moon landing hoax requires a comprehensive and collaborative approach. By promoting scientific literacy, critical thinking, and evidence-based reasoning, society can build resilience against misinformation and foster a more informed and skeptical public. This effort is crucial not only for debunking the moon landing hoax, but also for addressing the broader challenge of misinformation in the digital age. Debunking the moon landing hoax theory involves presenting the overwhelming scientific evidence supporting the Apollo missions. This evidence encompasses various aspects, from the physical samples returned to Earth to the detailed telemetry data recorded during the missions. By examining this evidence, it becomes clear that the moon landings were genuine achievements of human ingenuity and technological prowess. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence supporting the moon landings is the collection of lunar rock samples brought back by the Apollo astronauts. These samples have been extensively studied by scientists around the world, and their unique composition provides undeniable proof of their extraterrestrial origin. Lunar rocks differ significantly from Earth rocks in their isotopic signatures and mineral content. For instance, they contain a high proportion of anorthosite, a type of rock that forms in the absence of water and under conditions not found on Earth. The presence of these unique minerals and the specific isotopic ratios found in the lunar samples confirm that they could not have originated from Earth. The authenticity of the lunar samples has been independently verified by scientists from various countries. Researchers in the Soviet Union, Japan, China, and other nations have analyzed the samples and reached the same conclusions about their lunar origin. This international verification adds a significant layer of credibility to the evidence, as it involves scientists with no vested interest in supporting NASA's claims. Furthermore, these samples have provided invaluable insights into the history and geology of the moon, contributing to our understanding of the solar system's formation and evolution. Telemetry data recorded during the Apollo missions offers another robust line of evidence. This data includes detailed information about the spacecraft's trajectory, speed, orientation, and other critical parameters. The data was recorded by multiple tracking stations around the world, including those operated by independent entities outside of NASA's control. The consistency and accuracy of this telemetry data provide a comprehensive and verifiable account of the missions from launch to lunar landing and return. Analyzing this data demonstrates that the Apollo spacecraft followed the precise trajectories required to reach and return from the moon, leaving little room for doubt about the mission's authenticity. High-resolution photographs and videos taken by the Apollo astronauts also provide substantial evidence of the moon landings. These images capture the lunar surface in unprecedented detail, showcasing the desolate, cratered landscape, the unique lighting conditions, and the Earth rising above the lunar horizon. The photographs include features that are consistent with the known geology of the moon, such as the absence of atmospheric distortion and the distinct texture of the regolith. Additionally, the shadows and lighting in the images are consistent with a single light source, the sun, further corroborating their authenticity. Independent verification of the Apollo landing sites has been achieved through modern lunar missions. NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, LRO, launched in 2009, has captured high-resolution images of the Apollo landing sites, showing the lunar modules, astronaut tracks, and scientific instruments left behind. These images provide clear, direct evidence of human activity on the moon, visible in the exact locations documented by the Apollo missions. The LRO's images have been analyzed and confirmed by independent scientists, adding another layer of validation to the evidence supporting the moon landings. Countries with their own lunar missions, such as China and India, have also provided independent confirmation of the Apollo landing sites. China's Chang'e missions and India's Chandrayaan missions have mapped the lunar surface and identified the locations of the Apollo artifacts. These independent confirmations from international space agencies further reinforce the credibility of the moon landings and counter the claims of conspiracy theorists. The scientific experiments conducted by the Apollo astronauts also provide evidence of their presence on the moon. One notable experiment is the deployment of retroreflectors, which are devices that reflect laser beams sent from Earth back to their source. These retroreflectors are still operational and are regularly used for precise measurements of the distance between the Earth and the moon. The successful use of these retroreflectors over decades provides continuous, tangible proof of the Apollo mission's authenticity. Expert testimonies from scientists, engineers, and astronauts who worked on or studied the Apollo missions further bolster the evidence. These individuals have provided detailed accounts of the planning, execution, and outcomes of the missions, based on first-hand experience and rigorous scientific analysis. Their testimonies are consistent with the documented evidence and offer valuable insights into the complexities and achievements of the Apollo program. Photographic analysis by experts in imaging and photography has debunked the specific claims made by hoax proponents regarding anomalies in the lunar photographs. For instance, the argument about the inconsistent shadows is explained by the uneven terrain on the moon, which can cause shadows to fall at different angles. The apparent fluttering of the American flag is attributed to the momentum imparted by the astronauts when they planted it, combined with the lack of atmospheric drag on the moon. The absence of stars in the lunar photographs is a result of the camera settings used to capture the brightly lit lunar surface, which made the relatively faint stars invisible. The technological achievements of the Apollo program also serve as evidence against the hoax theory. The development and successful deployment of the Saturn V rocket, the most powerful rocket ever built, demonstrate the advanced engineering capabilities of NASA during the 1960s. The precision required to launch, navigate, and safely return a manned spacecraft to and from the moon highlights the feasibility of the missions. Detailed records of the engineering, testing, and execution of these technologies are available for scrutiny, providing transparency and credibility to the achievements. Addressing the specific claim that the Apollo missions were impossible due to radiation exposure from the Van Allen belts, scientists have explained the measures taken to protect the astronauts. The Apollo spacecraft were designed to minimize the time spent in the higher radiation zones of the Van Allen belts, and the spacecraft's shielding provided adequate protection for the duration of the passage. The total radiation dose received by the astronauts was well within safe limits, as confirmed by dosimeters carried on board and subsequent health monitoring of the astronauts. The argument that the moon landings were faked using advanced filmmaking techniques, possibly involving Stanley Kubrick, is also thoroughly debunked by experts in film and visual effects. The technology available in the 1960s for creating realistic space scenes was far less advanced than the actual technology used to achieve the moon landings. The intricate details and physical interactions observed in the lunar footage, such as the behavior of dust and the physics of movement in low gravity, would have been extremely difficult, if not impossible, to replicate convincingly with the techniques available at the time. Educational outreach and public engagement have been crucial in debunking the moon landing hoax. NASA, in collaboration with educators and science communicators, has developed a wide range of resources to teach the public about the Apollo missions and the evidence supporting their authenticity. Interactive exhibits in museums, educational websites, public lectures, and documentaries all play a role in providing accurate information and addressing common misconceptions. Public figures and celebrities who support the authenticity of the moon landings, including astronauts who participated in the missions, have also contributed to debunking efforts. Their personal accounts and endorsements help to counter the influence of conspiracy theorists and lend credibility to the evidence supporting the moon landings. For example, astronauts like Buzz Aldrin and Michael Collins have been vocal about their experiences and have actively engaged in public outreach to share their stories and dispel myths. The scientific community continues to build on the legacy of the Apollo missions, conducting ongoing research and exploration that further validates the achievements of the past. Current and future lunar missions, such as NASA's Artemis program, aim to return humans to the moon and establish a sustainable presence. These missions will provide new opportunities to gather data, conduct experiments, and demonstrate the feasibility of lunar exploration, reinforcing the evidence from the Apollo era. The persistent belief in the moon landing hoax underscores the importance of promoting scientific literacy and critical thinking skills. By equipping individuals with the tools to evaluate evidence, recognize credible sources, and understand the scientific process, society can better counteract misinformation and conspiracy theories. Educational initiatives that focus on these skills are essential for fostering a more informed and skeptical public. In conclusion, the overwhelming body of evidence supporting the authenticity of the Apollo moon landings is clear and irrefutable. From the physical samples and telemetry data to the high-resolution images and expert testimonies, the evidence collectively demonstrates that the moon landings were genuine achievements. Efforts to debunk the moon landing hoax must continue, emphasizing the importance of scientific inquiry, transparency, and public engagement in maintaining trust in our institutions and the remarkable accomplishments of human exploration. Despite the persistent belief in the moon landing hoax, the legacy of the Apollo missions endures. They represent a monumental achievement in human history and a testament to what we can accomplish through scientific inquiry and determination. As we look to the future, with plans for new lunar missions and Mars exploration, it's essential to remember the importance of critical thinking and evidence-based reasoning. The moon landing hoax theory may never fully disappear, but by understanding its origins and examining the evidence, we can appreciate the true significance of humanity's journey to the moon. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of one of the most enduring conspiracy theories of our time.